Hello, my name is Linda Larson-Schlitz, and I'm really glad to be having you join me today in creating a thriving and profitable workplace. I'm going to talk to you about a proven system that's going to increase your bottom line at your job, and certainly the most important, it is going to minimize stress and it's going to improve the morale in ways that you cannot even imagine. I've been in the workforce development field for almost 25 years in a variety of different ways. I'm a disability expert, and I'm the owner of and CEO of the Faucet of Hope Collaborative and CEU Services. What I do is to try to provide people with a different way of doing things, and what I'm embarking on right now is comprehensive systems change to help people with mental health and substance abuse issues. And a lot of times in the workplace, maybe people didn't have a mental health issue till they started working. And I know a lot of us have probably been through that experience. And what do? How do you change that? We just can't sit back and accept that it is what it is and you have to just deal with it, because there are a lot of great strategies and a system that would really work for you. So that's what I want to share with you today, is that there is a lot of different things out there that you could do. Now, one of the concerns that I know as a previous employer myself, and actually as an employer now in my online business and consulting business that I'm doing, is that high turnover. It is a huge problem because so many things are changing these days. The turnover is there. People are always looking for something better, pays more, better benefits. And as a result, sometimes we get low productivity and poor quality. People just aren't into their jobs, or maybe they don't have the skills. There's the medical costs involved in having employees. That's a concern. The morale. When you've got negative people, even if it's one person, they can ruin the entire business, literally. So you need to know how to communicate with people, how to instill cooperation in the workplace. What do you do about the absenteeism? Maybe they're legitimately sick, maybe they're skipping out, maybe there's family issues that are causing people to be absent. But if people aren't there, it doesn't matter how good they are. It doesn't matter how wonderful their skills are if they don't know how to deal with the family issues that are causing them to miss work. Then you've got the theft and the dishonesty, which is a typical sign of people who are not engaged and committed to their employer, or people who may have an addiction to something that they need money for, which is another behind-the-scenes issue that people need to look at when we're looking at theft and dishonesty. And if these are issues that are stemming from a mental health issue of some sort, or a physical disability or a mental disability, lawsuits and discrimination can certainly be a problem that are going to be more concerns, more cost to an employer. So you really need to look at that. Now, here is the reality of what you're dealing with. If you're an employer out there, less than 1/3 of Americans are happy with their work. Less than 1/3. Half of your workforce is already checked out. 18% are unhappy with their current position, with some even sabotaging their success of their workplace. That comes from the mental health of America, their workplace wellness, and on my resources there, right on my PowerPoint, I've got a link to take you to that wonderful resource. The Bureau of Labor shows that there were 4.7 million job openings in June, and more than half of the employers say that they can't find qualified candidates. Think about that. 4.7 million job openings, but there's not people qualified. What in the world does that mean? Now, that came out of a wonderful article by Dan Schwabel from the Forbes magazine, and the article was 10 workplace trends for 2015. So that's part of it. Another part of it is that 86% of employees are already looking for work outside their current occupations. Now, that came by Indeed.com. They had looked at 430,000 job seekers. That's the statistic they came up with. 86% of employees are looking for work outside their current occupations. Now, listen to this. 86%, strangely enough, the same statistic came out of a study done by the Society for Human Resource Managers, and that's a very credible organization that is at least nationwide, and they do a lot of research on this. Their study showed 86% of employees are content with their jobs. However, they only looked at 600 employees as opposed to 430,000. So that's just a heads up on statistics. And you can look at statistics and, really you can do a lot of different things with statistics. So I'm trying to share with you a variety of different ones so that I'm not just pulling the most shocking out of there, but take what you want and figure it out for yourself. As an employer, the only way you're going to know what your reality is to do what I'm going to suggest, which is a survey of your own employees and find out where are they at. And you can't do the survey because they're not going to be honest with you. That's the other thing that was found in one of the SHRM studies, is that people that were asked those questions upon exit, why did they leave? Did you leave because of your present employer or your boss? Only 4% of them said it was because of the boss. But like a year later, it was more like 20%, and I didn't write that one down, but I guess that's another thing. This study, I believe, was done with employees who were presently at the job. Are they going to be honest on that indication? Now, here's some of the causes of stress in the workplace. Key cause is a demanding boss. Number one key cause. Now, this survey was done by Staples in their own employees, and that was interesting that they put that demanding boss. And I knew some people who work for Staples, and I'm not sure why that is, but every workplace has got stress of some sort. The key is to identify what the stressors are, what are they doing to your employees, and how do you fix it. Now, the second cause is conflicts with coworkers. The third cause of stress is the workload. The fourth cause was fear of losing their jobs, and the fifth cause was the lack of communication all over the place. So these are things to keep in mind that employers need to work on. What are you doing about that demanding boss? Why is he demanding? Because there's deadlines that need to be met and customers that need to be served. Is there another way besides yelling at your people? Do you have the right people in the right places to do the job you need to have done? And we're going to talk about that more. Now, pay is important. Now, on those top 5, was there anything about pay? Nothing about pay. Demanding boss, conflicts with coworkers, workload, fear of losing their job, lack of communication. Top 5 cause of stress was not money. Nevertheless, pay is important. But 3 out of every 4 respondents to the survey that SHRM did indicated that respectful treatment of employees at all levels was very important. Back to that fear and that demanding boss. That was done in a satisfaction and engagement survey in 2015 that SHRM did with that 600 employees that they reviewed. Statistics, again, here's some statistics, and these are coming from pretty credible organizations. This is an American psychologist on a study done on prevention of work-related psychological disorders. Granted, it was in 1990 that this was printed, but there are new statistics, and they're much more overwhelming, I can tell you. The total health and productivity cost of worker stress to American business is estimated at $50 to $150 billion annually. $150 billion because of workplace stress. Now, what happens when people are stressed out at work? Lots of things. In one study, the frequency of medication errors declined by 50% after stress prevention activities were implemented in a 700-bed hospital. Now, that came out of the Journey of Applied Psychology, but that is an amazing statistic. In that same field, they found that these stress prevention activities that were implemented in the hospital cut the lawsuits for malpractice by almost 70%. That's insane. Why? Because stress causes people, the brain doesn't work right. What happens when we are stressed out is that our bodies create chemicals when you're stressed, like endorphins, they're called, like when you have a big serious thing like your kid falls under a car and you've got to move the car, so you pick up the car and you move it. You hear about that, those miraculous things. Well, that's adrenaline. That's that fight or flight response. And we can handle that for that moment. But if you go and try and pick up that car tomorrow or next week, not going to happen. Why? Because you're less strong? Well, you don't have that. It depletes in our brains that stress chemical, that ability to manage stress for a period of time. It just depletes that chemical, and that's why some people go into then a mental illness. 28 million workers in the United States workforce experience a mental or substance use disorder. It is a huge problem. 38% of workers experience at least 2 different mental conditions in a year. It might be alcohol abuse or dependence, major depression, social phobia, and anxiety disorder, but that is just an enormous amount of people that are being affected by this. 1 in 4 people, here's a more recent study, are affected by mental illness. 8.6 million adults have suicidal thoughts. Suicide is the 3rd leading cause of death. Think about that. 1 in 30 people experience post-traumatic stress disorder. That's not just about veterans. That's about people who have suffered from abuse or sexual assault or family issues or got bit by their dog or somebody's dog. Children are coming to school every day suffering with trauma. So that's why they have, it's called trauma training. And our teachers are now having to go through with this to deal with our children. So there's just a huge problem with this. And what happens is, because we don't understand this, because employers are totally unaware that this huge population of employees that you have in your workplace have significant mental illnesses, stigma and discrimination becomes real. Stigma is the aura of shame and blame that surrounds people who experience mental illness. It is that barrier of well-being and having a full life. It holds people back because, we don't want to be looked at as crazy or a nutbag or an airhead or a ditzy blonde like I've been called most of my life. It may cause discomfort for returning employees if you seek treatment. So a lot of people don't seek treatment. Besides that, the costs are enormous. So what do you do when those things are out there, stigma and discrimination? The only thing we can do is to change that. This is Linda Larson Schlitz, and I know that change isn't easy, but I've got a very simple process for you. I hope you'll tune in for the next video, learn how to do it, and then sign up for my upcoming workshop. It will definitely change your life and change your business. Thanks for listening.